Okay. So good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for joining us this afternoon for an update on the Admirals Point Bridge Replacement Project. My name's Janelle Bunton, and I'm with DPW Communications. And today our design team is led by Scott Minnick, and he's going to share updates on the project so far, including that all-important project schedule that we're all excited to hear about. We're also going to meet the project manager, and he's responsible for keeping the construction running smoothly, along with the RPR, resident project representative, and the project contractor. So basically, we're just going to have everybody go around and introduce themselves and tell us what their role is with the project, and then Scott can get started with the presentation. And I should also mention that we also have our project designer with us, Bill Chappelle, so he'll be introducing himself along with everyone else. So if everyone else would like to start, I think, Scott, we can start with you and just go around the squares.
Yep, well, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Scott Minnick. For those of you that were at the first public meeting, I was the one who presented there. I am the project manager for United Consulting. Our United Consulting is responsible for the design side of the bridge, and I'll be giving you a little bit of an update here in a few minutes.
Hi, this is Anise Severa. I'm also with United Consulting, and I was the design engineer on this project.
Bill Chappelle, DPW Design Project Manager for the project.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Rick Kretschton. I am the Construction Project Manager for DPW on this project.
Jesse Combs, NDDPW Contract Design Project Manager. I'll be taking over for Mr. Chappelle next week as he is retiring.
Marcus Robertson with Duncan Robertson Incorporated, prime contractor.
Michael Wesley with United Consulting. I'll be the resident project representative.
Okay, it looks like we have finished with our introductions. I did put a link in the chat box for registration. So our guests, if you wouldn't mind going to that link and just filling out that short little form to let us know who is attending so we can kind of keep everybody informed of the project's progress. And we'll also be putting information in the chat box as well as with the presentation for any questions following this meeting. This presentation will be posted on our website, indy.gov/DPW. It's going to be under Major Transportation and Infrastructure Projects under the Bridge section. So any information from this presentation plus a fact sheet will be listed there. And you will also have information at the end of the presentation as to where you can contact me if you have any project questions. And we'll also have a question and answer session where you're ask any questions you might have during this meeting. So I guess, Scott, you started.
Hey, Scott, before you start, if you're not speaking, can everyone please mute yourselves? Aaron and RGL, please mute yourselves because we have some feedback coming through. Thank you.
All right, we'll get started. I do have a slide presentation that we'll go through. For those of you that were with us back in February, some of this is a repeat. All right. But a lot has changed since February, not only in our world outside. Last time we met in person, now we're all meeting from our basements and living rooms. But a lot has continued to proceed forward with this project. We have not slowed down one bit over the last 9 months. Project is still on schedule, still ready to go. Everything's still moving forward as planned. So let's talk a little bit about the project, kind of an update and what's going to happen here over the next 6 months or so. We've gone through introductions, kind of the project team. These are the major players from the city of Indianapolis, as well as from United Consulting, who is the designer on the project. Michael Wesley with United is also our resident project representative. His job is to watch over the contractor, make sure he's building the project in accordance with the plans, make sure the city is getting the project that they're paying for. And then Duncan Robertson is our prime contractor. They will be the one actually building the bridge. So we will have questions at the end. We'd ask that you wait until the end of the presentation to ask your questions, and we'll answer those all at the end. We may answer your questions as I go through some of these slides. There is a chat function. Feel free to type your questions in the chat at any time, but we will wait until the end to answer those. We'll also give you an opportunity to unmute your microphone at the end and ask questions as well. So existing conditions, the old bridge that is there now is a timber bridge. That's a picture of it looking down the reservoir. And the asphalt wearing surface, we all remember back in the spring, back in February, this is what it looked like. The city did go out and strip patch that back in the spring to make it serviceable until we could get to the time of construction. It certainly looks much better than that now, but as we saw how quickly the last wearing surface deteriorated, we would expect what's on there now would do the same if we didn't get to construction and replacing this bridge. So let's do a little comparison of what you have there now versus what you're going to have there when we're all done with construction. So old bridge versus new bridge. Old bridge is made of timber. New bridge is going to be made of concrete with reinforcing steel and pre-stressing strands inside the concrete. The old bridge was 12 spans of 26 feet each. Timber can't span all that far and carry heavy vehicular traffic. A concrete bridge can do much better with vehicular traffic. We're only going to have 2 spans, each of those being 107 feet long. The old bridge was 311 feet total in length. A little bit of that bridge length was not really necessary with what we can do with a concrete bridge and the way we can form up the ends of the bridge. So we were actually able to shorten the bridge to 214 feet. That still allows adequate flow of the channel through there, allows Geist Reservoir to do what it needs to do, as well as North Fork Dry Branch, which is a small creek that is closer to the intersection to the south that also goes under the bridge. So the old bridge has a bunch of piles sticking out in Geist Reservoir, those steel diameter sticks that you see sticking up. All of those are going to be removed as part of the project, and the new structure will completely span over Geist Reservoir. So you'll have nothing in the way of boat traffic when we're done.
Grind to stop. So
Could we get the user who's to mute, please? Thank you.
Well, good, buddy. Hopefully they won't destroy my new guy.
Janelle, I believe you can mute everybody.
Yes.
So, well, let me know what they say.
Yeah.
All right.
The work. Oh, it's very worth it.
I'm going to go ahead and proceed. Janelle, I assume you'll get that muted here in a second. So the old bridge has 3 lanes of traffic, 1 lane going in, 2 lanes coming out, with one of those exit lanes being a left turn lane. The new bridge will have the same configuration. The old bridge has a sidewalk on both the east and the west side. The new bridge is only going to have a sidewalk on the west side. The east side sidewalk that is on the bridge right now doesn't lead anywhere. There's no connecting sidewalk going north or south from that east sidewalk. So with that, the bridge is going to get a little smaller. The width wise as well. We were at 61.5 feet wide with the old bridge. New bridge will be 41 feet wide. Underneath the bridge, we'll have vertical clearance for boat traffic. The old bridge has 12 feet of vertical clearance. The new bridge, that's going to be reduced a little bit to 10 foot 3 inches of vertical clearance. That's from normal Geist Reservoir elevation up to the low structure elevation up above. So we have reduced that a little bit, but for comparison, the Fall Creek Road Bridge has about 9 foot 9 inches of clearance. So if you put your boat in the reservoir up at Oleo Road, you have to go under Fall Creek Road Bridge to get to this bridge. If you can make it under Fall Creek, you'll make it under this bridge when we're done. And then, of course, the old bridge had lots of pothole problems. The new bridge, no potholes. So the next slide. So this next slide is a representation of what the cross section of the bridge would look like. The top one being the existing structure, the bottom being the proposed. There are 3 lanes shown in both. The lanes have reduced a little bit from 12 foot and 11 foot down to 10 feet, but the 10 feet does meet current standards for this road classification. And then the shoulders have also been reduced. The existing road shoulder was 7 feet, and the proposed is going to be much narrower, again, meeting current standards. So this is an aerial photo of the project site. Nothing has changed on this from the first meeting, if you were at that first meeting. In this aerial, to the right is north, going north on Admirals Point. You can see 86th Street there on the left side. So the bridge would be what's outlined in blue and green, with substructure units shown here where I'm drawing now. There's one on one side of Geist Reservoir. There's another one on the other side. And then the end of the bridge out here to the left by the intersection. We'll be doing a little bit of paving in the intersection, as well as some paving of asphalt all the way out to the right side to the location I just drew. So not a whole lot of approach road work, but enough that we can tie everything into existing. And then everything will line up with the intersection to the left. So this represents kind of an aerial, or not an aerial, sorry, a photographic view looking down the channel of Geist Reservoir. The piles you see in the channel are all going to be removed. So these are, oops, second. So these will all be removed. These will be removed. And all of these are going to be removed. Those will be cut off down at channel bottom elevation. And then we'll have a new substructure to the far left over here, and a new substructure unit here. And then the bridge will stand between that. And actually the pier here, this is going to be ground elevation. Everything below this line that I'm drawing very large here now, everything below that's underground. So there actually will be nothing in the channel at that location. So let's talk about traffic during construction. In order to build this bridge, we have to tear the old one out and then build a new one. We will have to close Admirals Point Drive during construction. And we'll be closing that completely from Old Stone Drive all the way down to 86th Street, and including most of the intersection of 86th Street and Oak Landon Road. We'll have a marked detour during construction, which could go down the yellow dashed line you see on this picture. That'll cover Old Stone Drive, Carroll Road, and 79th Street. Obviously, if you live in the neighborhood, you certainly know the area, and if you're going a different direction or going somewhere else, you can certainly follow different routes to get to where you need to go. So a little bit of a blow up here now, an aerial view looking down of the intersection of 86th Street, Oak Landon Road, and Admirals Point Drive, the intersection just south of the bridge. Everything crosshatched there will be closed during construction. The only thing that will remain open will be northbound Oak Landon traffic going to eastbound 82nd Street. So everybody going westbound on 82nd Street is not going to be able to make it. Westbound 82nd Street is going to be shut off at, or closed off at Promontory Road. So westbound 82nd Street is going to be blocked off right here. Eastbound traffic going that direction will be able to maintain, but no westbound traffic through here. And there's a reason for that I'm going to show you on the next slide. At the first public meeting, the question of pedestrian access came up. At the time, we were taking out the sidewalk across the bridge, and there was no pedestrian access being provided. So we now have added to the project at the request from the first public meeting, pedestrian detour and pedestrian access to get around the closed bridge. So we'll have a marked pedestrian detour that will follow this dashed yellow line that will go down the existing sidewalks on Old Stone Drive and Promontory Road. And then the pedestrians during construction will follow down 86th Street. There is no sidewalks there now, so they will actually be walking down the north lane of 86th Street. We will have that north lane blocked from traffic that's in the south lane. That'll be separated with a temporary concrete barrier. And that concrete barrier will also turn and cross over 86th Street at Promontory Road so that no vehicles can get into that area. So we'll have barrier crossing here just in the north lane and then barrier down the middle of the road here that will separate the vehicular traffic that is going to the east. Pedestrian traffic will be in the north lane with the ability to go east or west. So at the intersection with Admirals Point Drive, 86th Street, and Oak Landon Drive, we've still got to get pedestrian traffic through there. Again, the dashed yellow line represents the approximate route pedestrian traffic will follow. The red line represents a concrete barrier that will separate the vehicular traffic from the pedestrians. And then the green line shown along there will represents a 6-foot tall chain link fence that will be temporarily installed during construction that will separate the pedestrians from the construction that's going on. Now down at the south, the contractor is going to be working in the intersection. He needs to bring materials in. He'll be bringing them in through that area I've circled. So pedestrians will be crossing there as well. The contractor is responsible for flagging when he's bringing materials in and out, but we'd also ask pedestrians when using it, use your normal common sense when you're crossing the street, look both ways, that kind of thing. So we talked utilities. You've probably seen some utility work getting started out there. Some trees were cleared not too long ago. I know there's some power poles laying on the ground, getting ready to be installed. The wires going across Admirals Point Drive that you can see in this photo need to be relocated because we're going to have a crane in here that needs to work in that area. So those are very close to being relocated. The utility contractor is going to be out there very soon getting that finished up. We also have an existing utility on the bridge. It's kind of hard to see in this photo, but there is a line running right there. That's a Comcast cable line. That's also going to be removed. And actually, the two utility companies are working hand in hand to get their utilities relocated together. So let's talk schedule. That's the big topic for tonight. I will say that the schedule that I'm going to put up below here is subject to weather. We are doing construction outside, so certainly weather becomes an issue. When we put schedules together, we do account for typical weather when we put those schedules together. So when I say subject to weather, it's subject to non-typical weather. We know we're going to be working through the winter and the spring. We know the weather's going to be cold. We're going to have snow. We're going to have a wet spring. We account for that, but certainly anything out of the ordinary could delay us a little bit. And then the big unknown right now, COVID. While we have proceeded forward in our industry, doing bridge and road work through this COVID-19, certainly any major outbreaks with our contractor or with any of the material suppliers, that could cause some unforeseen delays. So here's our current schedule where we are right now. December, where we are now, utilities are being relocated. That's IPL and Comcast. Starting as of right now and over the next couple of weeks, the temporary sidewalk that we talked about through the interchange, through the intersection to the south of the bridge, that's going to be installed first. And then December 28th is the big day. December 28th is the contractor's anticipated close the bridge and close the road date to get started with major construction. So he's got about 6 months to have the road closed, and kind of a quick and dirty idea of what he'll be doing during those 6 months below. In January, he's going to be demolishing the existing bridge and removing that. In February and March, he'll be driving piles and building the substructure. That's what will support the bridge. I would like to point out that during pile driving operations, that is a very noisy operation. We take 14-inch diameter steel piles. They have a pointed tip on the end, and we basically take a very large hammer and drop it on those piles to drive them into the ground. It is all controlled within a cage so that everything does go exactly where we want it. But we basically hit this pile over and over and over again and drive it into the ground, about 50 feet into the ground. There are a lot of them that we have to put in for this construction. So we are going to have some noisy days out there in March and February. As we proceed forward, when the weather starts getting a little nicer in April, we'll be setting the pre-stressed beams and forming up the bridge deck. Bridge deck is the part that you drive on. In May, we'll be cleaning up the rest of the bridge, putting the sidewalk on the bridge railing, the approach slabs, the concrete adjacent to the bridge, and starting some drainage work. We do have a little bit of drainage work going on north of the bridge. The existing drainage there from our calculations showed that during a very heavy storm, we probably were getting some puddling going on. And so we are fixing some of that for you as a part of this project and installing some additional inlets, upsizing some pipes to a little bit larger so that road drainage can get adequately off there during a large storm. And then in June of next year, we'll be finishing up the drainage work, working on the approach road work, paving, and revegetating the site. There will be trees planted as well as grass planted and some shrubs planted. And then the anticipated open the bridge back up to traffic right now is June 26th. Again, that's subject to weather and any other unforeseen problems or issues that might come up during construction, but that is the anticipated planned construction schedule. So at this point, I think we're ready to open it up to questions that you might have today. You can type those into the chat and we can read those and answer them, or you can unmute and ask your questions. After today, we'd ask that if you have any questions as the project proceeds forward, or tomorrow you think of something you meant to ask and you forgot, get in touch with Janelle. She's DPW's Public Information Officer. Her information is listed there at the bottom of the screen. For those of you that have called in, I will give you Janelle's cell phone, or not cell phone number, her work phone number. That number is 317-327-2311. And again, that's Janelle's phone number. If you need to ask questions during construction, again, 317-327-2311. So Janelle, I'm going to turn this back over to you. And I am going to stop sharing my screen.
Okay, thank you. And the presentation will be online at the link noted in the chat function. So that contact information will be there within that presentation if you would have any questions later on about the project. So basically right now, we're just going to open it up to questions. I ask that if someone is asking a question, that everyone please stay muted unless you're participating in answering the question, just to avoid any feedback and unnecessary noise. So I guess we're ready to take questions.
Janelle, this is
Yes.
Tom Foltz. Can you hear me
Hi, Tom.
okay?
I can hear you just fine, Tom.
Got a couple of questions. Have you guys discussed the implications at Amy Beverland as well as St. Simon on the traffic flow? Because having lived out in this area for 30 years in the Admirals Point area, there's a lot of traffic in the morning, 7 to 8, if you will, and up to maybe 8:30 or so, as well as Holy Cross. That is school-based, and then at 2:30 to 4:30, school buses. What's going to happen there? Have you talked to them about that?
Well, I can tell you that we do work closely with any schools in the areas of our project, as well as, excuse me, as well as public safety officials. We notify them, we sit down ahead of time and have meetings with them to determine what kinds of plans that we're putting in place to make accommodations easy for them. As with any project, we're going to have issues where it's going to be congested, and that's just the nature of a construction project. And we apologize for that, but this is something it is needed. It's been a long time coming. So we're hopeful that residents and businesses, including the schools in the area, will cooperate with us and give us some understanding while we get this project completed. Hopefully it will be a fairly short-term project. We can get in there, get our job done and get out, and open the road back up to everybody so they can continue using it and enjoy life as normal.
Okay. Well, the presentation is very nice. Really appreciate that. I guess one thing I've noticed is the drainage of water. Are you guys going to enhance that? Looks like you're at least addressing that. Has there been any review of the water drainage and making sure that things flow properly off our land into the reservoir?
Janelle, I can take that question. This is Scott Minnick, project design representative. We have accounted for drainage on the project. Both Geist Reservoir, North Fork Drive branch having adequate flow under the bridge, as well as road drainage and what's going on there. Right now, as you go up the hill into the neighborhood, there's a long uphill as you get up to the four-way stop sign there. As you're going into the neighborhood, all of that drainage existing was coming down the hill and draining to just one small inlet there, which was found to be inadequate for a larger storm. So we have improved that as a part of this project. We have added multiple new inlets into that area just north of the bridge, which is the low point. We're upsizing some of the pipes that are coming in and where they're exiting out into the reservoir as well. So drainage should be improved over existing conditions.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that's all I have for right now. I'll listen to the others.
I do have a question. If this is an okay time. Okay. So I live, let's see, east of Oakland, south of 86th. So not affected by the bridge per se. But again, I just have a traffic question, and I understand construction projects. I work for a different municipality myself, so I know that traffic comes with it. I am curious about the impact specifically on the intersections at Carroll and 86th, as well as Carroll and 79th, knowing that both the Detour route is to go down Carroll, as well as any westbound traffic that uses 86th, regardless of going into Admirals Point or not, is going to be also going down Carroll, going west on 79th. And those existing four-way stops are perhaps being overutilized. I think they're very overloaded during peak times. So I was just wondering if there was any plans on maintenance of traffic there, potentially temporary street lights set up like you guys did on 79th. When that was shut down, there was a temporary street light north of there at one of those four-way stops that people were using for Detour. So was just curious if that's been looked at, and if so, if there's the potential for, if it gets bad, potentially doing a traffic light temporarily.
Yeah, I think I can answer that one. We talked to our traffic engineer about that. He wanted to basically see how it functioned once we shut the traffic down and monitor it for a little bit. And if it did prove to be a problem, then Nathan Sheets, our traffic engineer, thought we could probably address that.
I mean, you might luck out with a lot of people working from home right now. I don't know. I know if this were another year, traffic would probably be pretty high. So yeah, that's kind of why I was curious.
No, it's a valid point, and we were aware of that. We do want to kind of see how it goes before we make any decisions on that.
Okay. That's all I had.
This is Ron Saunders. May I ask a question? Free to go. So I am a boat owner along with a number of other people that use the waterway for which you guys are building the bridge over. We just spent a significant amount of money dredging that waterway to make it available. It's been, we went down 5.5 feet. There's a lot of concern that tearing out the structure around that goes into the water could impact our dredging. And obviously this is going to offer, I have a boat slip on the east side of there along with others. So going underneath the bridge is going to offer opportunity for us to have a wider entrance. Just kind of curious, do you guys have plans to make sure it's left at adequate depth for boat owners, or have you guys taken that in consideration?
No, I can take this one. Yeah, we don't anticipate there being any major disturbance in channel other than what's necessary to cut the existing piles off. So there should be no new dirt or fill going into the project. We have erosion control measures in the plans to keep sediment from going into the channel. So we shouldn't have no new soils going into the channel. As far as the pier construction, that is just off of the channel itself, and they will be building a coffer dam around there. They'll basically drive a sheet piling around and make a hole, and then they'll dig out inside of that so that they won't be getting into Geist Reservoir when they're building the new structure. The only time they would be in Geist Reservoir would be to remove the old piles. As far as boat traffic during construction, we do have a requirement for the contractor to maintain your access through construction. So you should have full access in and out. Obviously, we're starting here in December. I don't know that there's a lot of boat traffic this time of year, but there could be. But he is required to maintain access during construction. The only caveat to that might be that if he's doing some sort of controlling operation, lifting a beam over and trying to set it down into place, we might hold up boat traffic temporarily until it becomes safe again. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah. I guess when it sounds like they're going to cut off the existing pylons, are you going to cut it off lower than at the water level, or 5 feet below water level?
They're required to cut those off at bottom of channel elevation, so at dirt level below the water.
Yeah, unfortunately, those are only about 6 inches under the water at this point, maybe a foot. So, okay. Okay, that's all my questions. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Janelle, I have another question. Based on the flow of traffic, have you guys coordinated with 96th Street? I think that's open now, but I don't know what the plans are for 96th Street to close, quote unquote, between January and June for their construction. Do you know? Basically, for those people who go west, I can't go west. The only way I'm going to go west is to go south towards Pendleton Pike or else go around 96th Street.
Okay. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know what their plans are, and I will check on that for you. But a lot of times we have situations where we have projects kind of collide, and it's an unfortunate situation. We just kind of have to work around to make the best of it. And if we find that that's the case, we will try to do things with our project, that's within our control to, mitigate any discomfort or any extra time that, people have to spend on the road. But I will have to take a look at that and see specifically, when that time frame is going to be occurring.
Okay. While you're doing that, if you don't mind to check with Hancock County, because we have 3 counties that are impacted on this relative to traffic as well as construction. So do you know anything's going on in Hancock County on Carroll Road, County Line Road?
Not offhand, no. But would you mind emailing me and just give this in an email so I can actually remember it? And then I need to get you all the information.
Okay. And you'll email everybody on who's on this call, right? Also back. We can possibly do a frequently asked question. I don't have everybody's email addresses, so but we can coordinate that also through the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate and Nextdoor to give people updates. So we have other avenues.
This is Andrew again. If I could jump in real quick, I work for Fishers. I don't work for the engineering department, so I can't give you a guarantee. But on the project timeline that I've had access to, there are no scheduled projects along 96 or Fall Creek that would impact your west travel that you're concerned about. So again, not a guarantee. I don't work for the engineering department, but we're not planning anything that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions about the project? What it might entail, timeline, anything like that you would like to ask? Okay. If you think of a question, please email me at janelle.bunton@ed.gov. The email address is over in the chat function. It'll also be on the presentation that I'll put online after the meeting tonight. And we will, get you as much up-to-date information as we possibly can throughout the project and anything specifically that you ask. So I think at this time, we'll go ahead and bring the meeting to a close. And I just want to thank everyone again for attending and for your interest in the project. And we will be providing more information as we get closer to the actual road closure, which I guess is expected to happen closer to the end of this month. DPW will put out a news release informing everybody of that closure. And we plan to keep in close touch with Councilor Allie Brown, who I see is attending today, and I appreciate that support. And also with the Mayor's Neighborhood Advocate to get that information to everybody in a timely manner. So thank you for attending, and we will get you information out probably yet this evening on the website. So if you have any friends that weren't able to attend, please share that with them and encourage them to ask any questions.
Awesome. Thank you for the postcards.
Very welcome. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.